Welcome to a historical journey on J23 TV. Before we dive into our countdown, here's a quick quiz. Can you name these famous figures who met their end through assassination? First up, think of an American president who led the nation during its Civil War. His leadership preserved the Union, but his life ended tragically at a theater. Who was he? Moving on, let's visit the Indian subcontinent. Picture a leader whose commitment to non-violence and civil disobedience became a beacon for civil rights movements worldwide. Assassinated in his own country, his legacy of peace endures. Can you guess who this is? Lastly, we shift to the turbulent 60s in America. This African-American civil rights leader preached equality and justice, leaving a profound impact before being assassinated on a balcony in Memphis. Who are we talking about? Got them all? Whether you did or didn't, stay tuned to uncover their stories and more. And remember, hit subscribe to not miss any of our intriguing episodes, starting our countdown at number 10. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. In the early 20th century, Europe was a tinderbox of alliances and tensions. At the heart of this complex web was Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire. His progressive policies and vision for the future promised to reshape the aging empire, potentially easing the ethnic strife within its borders. However, on a sunny June day in 1914 in Sarajevo, these hopes were tragically cut short. The Archduke and his wife Sophie were assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, a young Bosnian Serb nationalist. This was not merely a murder, but a spark in a powder keg. Princip, who was associated with the group known as the Black Hand, sought to end Austro-Hungarian rule over Bosnia and Herzegovina. The assassination set off a chain reaction, leading to the outbreak of World War I. Major powers were drawn into a conflict so vast it was dubbed the Great War. The death of one archduke plunged the entire globe into war, reshaping the world map. At number 9, we travel to Renaissance Italy. Imagine the opulent city of Florence, flourishing under the influence of the Medici family, who were not just patrons of the arts but pivotal political figures. The Medici's power was nearly unmatched, but with great power often comes great envy and hostility. On a seemingly serene Sunday in April 1478, during a high mass at the Florence Cathedral, a shocking and violent event unfolded. Giuliano de' Medici, along with his brother Lorenzo, were targeted in what would be known as the Pazzi conspiracy. Orchestrated by the rival Pazzi family, this plot aimed to overthrow the Medici dominance. The attack was brutal. Giuliano was assassinated, stabbed multiple times, his blood mingling with the marbles of the sacred floor. This gruesome assassination during a church service was not just a personal tragedy, but a political catalyst. In the aftermath, the city was gripped by chaos and vengeance. The Medici's response was swift and fierce, ensuring that any opposition was crushed. This brutal act in a sacred place led to a brutal retaliation and tightened the Medici grip on Florence. Number 8 brings us to a pivotal moment in American civil rights history. In the heart of Memphis, Tennessee, a beacon of hope and a leader of nonviolent protest, Martin Luther King Jr., met a tragic end. Born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, King rose to prominence as a central figure in the civil rights movement, advocating for equality and justice through peaceful resistance. April 4, 1968 marked one of the darkest days in American history. While standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel, King was assassinated, a moment that sent shockwaves around the globe. His death not only marked a significant loss for the civil rights movement in the United States, but also spurred an outpouring of grief and solidarity worldwide. King's vision was not just for his own country, but for the world. His enduring message of justice, equality, and non-violence continues to influence civil rights movements and democratic struggles across the globe. King's dream continues to inspire change, proving that ideas cannot be killed even when their champions can be. At number 7, we delve into ancient Rome. Julius Caesar, a name that resonates through the annals of history, not just for his conquests but for his dramatic fall. Rising through the Roman political hierarchy, Caesar declared himself dictator for life. However, his ascent to absolute power sowed the seeds of his tragic end. On the Ides of March in 44 BC, a conspiracy among his closest allies culminated in his assassination. The Senate chamber, a place meant for debate and decision, became the stage for this brutal betrayal. Led by Brutus and Cassius, over 20 senators participated in the stabbing of Caesar, a man who once considered many of them as friends and political allies. This act wasn't just murder, it was a statement against tyranny. The aftermath of his death was seismic. It ignited a series of civil wars and ultimately led to the fall of the Roman Republic. In its place rose the Roman Empire, under the rule of Caesar's adopted heir, Octavian, later known as Augustus. Caesar's death ended a republic and birthed an empire, showing how leadership can change the course of history. Halfway through at number 6, a man of peace meets a violent end. In the heart of India's struggle for freedom from British rule, a slender, bespectacled man named Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi emerged as a beacon of hope and non-violence. Known worldwide as Mahatma, meaning great soul, Gandhi championed the philosophy of non-violent resistance, a tactic that would inspire countless other movements around the globe. On a chilly evening of January 30th, 1948, the peace he had so fervently advocated was shattered. As he walked to a prayer meeting at Birla House in New Delhi, Gandhi was assassinated by Nathuram Godse, a man radicalized by the tumultuous partition of India and opposed to Gandhi's ideals of tolerance and non-violence towards all. The impact of his assassination reverberated far beyond the borders of India. It was a stark reminder of the price often paid by those who dare to dream of a better world. Gandhi's assassination shocked the world, yet his teachings of non-violence live on. Number 5 takes us to the jungles of Bolivia. Here, amid the dense foliage and rugged terrain, we find Ernesto Che Guevara, a name that stirs emotions of admiration and controversy alike. Born in Argentina, Che was a physician turned Marxist revolutionary. His fervent desire for global socialist revolution led him to the heart of the Cuban Revolution alongside Fidel Castro, where he played a pivotal role in overthrowing the Batista regime. After Cuba, Che's revolutionary aspirations didn't wane. He traveled to Bolivia with the intent to ignite a similar uprising. However, the terrain and political climate were far less receptive than in Cuba. Isolated and struggling to gain support, Che's guerrilla group faced numerous challenges. In October of 1967, Che was captured by Bolivian forces, aided by the CIA. His execution the following day marked the end of his revolutionary campaigns, but ignited a legacy that would burn across decades. Che's iconic image remains a symbol of rebellion and idealism across the globe. At number 4, a royal family's tragic end. In the twilight of the Russian Empire, Tsar Nicholas II stood as the last emperor of a dynasty that had ruled Russia for over 3 centuries. His reign, marked by turmoil and revolution, came to a brutal conclusion in 1918. Under the shadows of the Bolshevik Revolution, Nicholas, along with his wife Alexandra and their 5 children, were exiled to the town of Yekaterinburg in the Ural Mountains. As the civil war raged between the Red Army and White forces, the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, decided that no symbol of the old regime could remain. In the chilling early hours of July 17th, the Romanov family was awakened and led to a basement room under the pretense of safety. Moments later, a squad of Bolshevik executioners entered and ended the lineage of the Romanovs with a fusillade of gunfire. The fall of the Romanovs marked the harsh beginning of a new ideological era in Russia. Our top 3 begins with an American tragedy. In the early 60s, President John F. Kennedy embodied a new wave of youthful optimism sweeping across the United States. His presidency, often referred to as Camelot, promised progressive changes and a bright future. However, the Dallas sky on November 22, 1963 held a different story. As his motorcade passed through Dealey Plaza, shots rang out. The president was struck, and the shocking images of that day are etched into the collective memory of a nation and the world. Kennedy's assassination opened up an abyss of conspiracy theories. Questions about the shooter, Lee Harvey Oswald, his motives, and whether he acted alone or was part of a larger plot continued to intrigue and perplex. The impact was monumental, reshaping American politics and policy. It thrust Lyndon B. Johnson into the presidency, who would then champion landmark legislation like the Civil Rights Act, influenced in part by the tragedy. JFK's death remains one of the most defining moments in 20th century history, just missing the top spot at number 2. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, stands as a towering figure in American history. During the tumult of the American Civil War, Lincoln's leadership was pivotal. His commitment to preserving the Union and abolishing slavery reshaped the nation's social and political landscape. However, his progressive vision was cut tragically short. On an April evening in 1865, as the Civil War drew to a close, John Wilkes Booth, an actor and Confederate sympathizer, entered Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. With a single gunshot, he assassinated President Lincoln, changing the course of American history forever. Lincoln's death had profound effects on the post-war Reconstruction. The dreams of a gentle reconciliation and the integration of freed slaves into American society faced new, formidable challenges without his compassionate leadership. Lincoln's vision for a united America was monumental, his assassination a national catastrophe. At number 1, an assassination that echoes through the ages. Delve into the shadowy corridors of ancient Egypt with the story of Pharaoh Ramses III, whose reign was cut tragically short by a sinister scheme within his own royal harem. Known as the Harem Conspiracy, this plot was masterminded by one of his own wives, Queen Tiye, and involved a coterie of trusted officials and royal concubines. The conspiracy was driven by ambition and betrayal. Tiye, along with her accomplices, sought to place her son Pentawere on the throne, overthrowing Ramses III. The plot thickened as it involved magic, poison, and an assassination that would change the course of Egyptian history. The eventual assassination of Ramses III marked a tumultuous period that led to political instability and economic decline. His death signaled the beginning of the end for the New Kingdom, once a flourishing and powerful empire, showcasing how the murder of a single leader could unravel an entire civilization. Even in ancient times, the murder of a leader could send shockwaves through history. As we've seen today, assassinations have not only ended lives, but have also drastically shaped the course of history. Each of these dark moments has left a profound impact, altering the fate of nations and the lives of millions. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, for instance, was a spark that ignited the devastating flames of World War I, reshaping global politics and geography. Similarly, the murder of Martin Luther King Jr. intensified the civil rights movement in the United States, leading to significant legislative changes and a continued fight for equality. In ancient Rome, Julius Caesar's assassination marked the end of the Roman Republic and the rise of an empire under his successors. Across the seas in India, the loss of Mahatma Gandhi led to waves of solemnity and a strengthened resolve for peace in a newly independent nation. Each of these events not only tells a story of a life lost, but also illuminates how such drastic actions have led to wars, shifts in power, and sweeping ideological changes across the globe. Thank you for joining us on this historical deep dive. Don't forget to subscribe to J23 TV for more insightful content. Until next time, keep questioning and keep learning.